Are you disappointed at how the holidays went? Hi there, and welcome back to Ask Dr. Syra, the show where I answer your questions about mental health, personal growth, and relationships. Today's question comes from Renu. Renu says, this holiday season, nothing went the way it was supposed to. How do I let go when my expectations are pretty fair and reasonable? This holiday season, nothing went the way it was supposed to. How do I let go when my expectations were pretty fair and reasonable? This is a good question, and it's likely a question that other people might have around this time of year, where there's gatherings and holidays, and we have certain expectations of how that's going to go. I have three thoughts around this, things for you to ponder as you're navigating this sticky space of it was supposed to go this way and it didn't. The first is looking at meaning. The second is the ideal. And then the third is evaluation. So meaning, ideal, and evaluation. Let's start with meaning. What do the holidays actually mean to you? What do the holidays actually mean to you? When we ask that question to people, they usually say things like family getting together and, a nice meal and celebration and decoration. And they might say those types of things, but I'm asking you a deeper question than that, right? What are the qualities that holidays bring out in you? So I can speak for myself. The holidays, what they mean for me is a time of possibility, a time of magic and possibility. It kind of forces me um, to look at the potential in things rather than just the thing. So, for example, we decorate a Christmas tree during the Christmas holidays, and the tree starts as this green thing that has nothing, and then it has all this potential, though, right? It has all of this so much. Like there's so many different ways this could go. And in earlier years, before I had kids, I was very meticulous a little too meticulous about how my tree looked, my Christmas tree looked. And had to be a fresh tree, cut from a specific farm and blah, blah, all of these things. And then I had certain decorations that had to go on certain sides. It was very, very particular about it. And so that wasn't really going with that flow of like magic and potential. It was just more about structure and predictability. And at that time in my life, that was super helpful. As I've grown into my motherhood, that tree starts to symbolize something different, right? It starts to symbolize a family project rather than my way that it has to be. Now, my kids might tell you that's not true, that it's still my way. There are certain trinkets that I'm like, I don't know about that. Let's put that on that side of the tree. I'll be honest. But but the piece around this is the potential, right? That something that's just plain can go into something that's beautiful. So that's one of the meanings that the holidays have for me. So if that's what I'm coming in with, right? That the holidays are about potential and magic, and they're about other things too, but for me, that's like the big one. And if I'm coming into a context where other people don't actually see the holidays that way or really care about that part of the holidays, I might feel a bit upset, disappointed. I might feel misunderstood. I feel like those expectations are pretty reasonable, right? Because every single Christmas movie on every single Hallmark, whatever, talks about the miracles and the magic and the potential and the change and the wow Christmas. So it feels to me like a reasonable expectation, but not everybody feels that way about this holiday. I know that my husband, his dad's birthday is in the holiday season, and his dad has passed away. So for him, the holidays aren't about the same thing now as they were 10 years ago. It's a different experience for him going through this time of year. And so what the holidays mean to us can change as well. So ask yourself that question. What do the holidays mean to me? What are the most important aspects of this holiday that I'm trying to bring in to my family and to my space? And do other people around me also feel that way? They may not, right? And so it's not that your expectations are unreasonable, it's that everybody has different expectations, to keep it simple. So that's the first. The second, and this is super important, is the ideal versus the actual. So many of us have these really nostalgic memories of for those of us who celebrate Christmas, for example, many of us have these nostalgic memories of our childhood, of certain moments, of certain traditions at Christmas that made us feel like that sense of awe and wonder or happiness or closeness. So we have these traditions. Now, what most of us do is we actually take like a bunch of different moments in our past and put them together as if that was one Christmas. It's kind of how memory works. So we don't remember that at that one Christmas when the turkey was amazing, three people in the room also had, what was it that they had? A stomach bug, and were like throwing up in the corner. The Christmas that we had the perfect turkey, right? So I don't remember that part of it, that three people at the party were really, really sick and had to keep running to the bathroom with stomach trouble. I remember the nice turkey. And so then I connect that nice turkey Christmas with that one Christmas where, Santa brought me a really big gift, really huge gift. Didn't really think about the fact that that Christmas we had just moved into a really, really tiny space. There was a lot of misery between my parents. There was a lot of like pain and suffering in our family at that time. I remember the big present, right? So I said, oh yeah, so a good Christmas is like a turkey, a really big or a really meaningful present. It's going Christmas caroling. Well, that was a totally different Christmas, right? So that's what we do. We create this ideal in our mind of what the thing could be. And then the actual version will just never measure up. I know one of the big things, I learned this last Christmas. Oh my gosh, did I learn this? Because one of the traditions when I was growing up is that my auntie she didn't used to take us. I think this happened maybe 2 or 3 Christmases, but in my mind it always happened. So she used to, probably a couple Christmases, she took us, we all got really dressed up, really fancy and pretty dresses, bows in our hair, and we went to see the Nutcracker, okay, the ballet. And that's such a like important memory that's just burned into my mind. And I remember being like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, somewhere in that age range. And we used to do this thing, probably just 3 Christmases, but in my mind, every Christmas, which is not real because my aunt worked for a place that she could get free tickets. And when she stopped working there, we weren't going anymore. But anyway, in my mind, every Christmas. So last Christmas, I wanted to, about 3 Christmases ago, I wanted to recreate that experience with my daughter. And so the first Christmas we went, and she was about 7 years old, and she just like basically fell asleep about 20 minutes into the ballet. And then that was it. And then afterwards we bought a little trinket and we did a little thing. And then the next Christmas we did it again. And the next Christmas we did it again. And then last Christmas, we were in a different city, but we thought, well, the Nutcracker's in so many different places. And so we said, let's go again and do our tradition. So we go, and it was just such a horrible experience for us. People behind us were talking, like they had done kind of an interpretive version of the Nutcracker rather than like the standard one that we'd been watching for many years. And so we left there being like, oh, that sucked. And we spent a lot of money because we were in a new city and we wanted to go to the fancy place, the fanciest theater. So that tradition that felt so important to me, we just decided this coming, this just past holiday season, we decided not to do it. We decided to do something else and substitute that mother-daughter time is what it was. Substitute that with something else. So in my ideal world, we'd be going to okay, let me tell you my ideal holiday season, and then you can kind of think about yours. So an ideal holiday season, my gifts are bought and wrapped way before Christmas Eve. I find exactly what I want for each family member for gifts. We actually don't do a lot of gifts in my ideal version because people are decluttering, and so we're very thoughtful, like maybe a Secret Santa kind of exchange in my ideal world. The meal is prepared by someone else, and it's delicious. Every single element of the meal is delicious, and it's all prepared and waiting when we arrive because things are on time. Because in my ideal Christmas, I'm not hosting. It's all of these different pieces, right? And if I am hosting in my ideal Christmas, then I have a lot of help and it's not just me in the kitchen. The house is decorated beautifully. The dog behaves, the kids behave, everybody gets along. There's no sulking. There's no hurt feelings. There's no people talking about what they don't like on the table. None of that. It's just laughter and happiness and greatness. And, maybe we've gone to see the Nutcracker a few days before that. And maybe we've gone to see the lights, and maybe we've gone for a ski trip together. That's a lot to pack into one Christmas, and it never happens. But in my mind, that's what it should be, because I've taken all of those other Christmases, put them together, picked the best parts, and said, this is what Christmas should look like. So think about if you've done that, right? With the holiday season, have you kind of created this idealized version that's actually quite impossible to achieve? Um, and how do you have an actual experience of this holiday season with your family members the way they are, with your home the way it is, with your own health and wellness the way it is, and do Christmas that way rather than how it should be in your mind or in some movie? So that's number two. Number three is, how do we really, so you said, how do I let go when my expectations are pretty fair and reasonable, right? Expectations are pretty fair and reasonable. So the third one is ex- um, evaluation. So how do you evaluate that your expectations are fair and reasonable? How do you evaluate that? So I'll give you another holiday example. For many, many, many years growing up, we would go, and there would be this whole day and this whole ritual around choosing our Christmas tree and getting it cut down, or one that's already cut down. We choose the tree, we bring it home, we do this, we do that, we let it like sit in the house for a couple of days and the pine smell, and then we decorate, and there's a whole thing around it. And every year growing up, we did Christmas like that. When my son started caring really a lot about the environment, he was maybe about 5 years old. He asked if we could get a fake tree because he didn't want to be cutting down trees every year. And so I thought having a fresh live Christmas tree was a fair and reasonable expectation. Like, I didn't think there was much wrong with that. But he brought this new thing into the conversation around waste and around taking a life, like a tree has life and you're taking this life, and about, that they don't use the wood for anything after. Like, he had all of these, 5-year-old had all of these reasons why we needed a fake tree. And so though my expectations felt fair and reasonable, a new set of traditions was coming in that I had to kind of be open to, even though in my evaluation, it's a fair and reasonable expectation. My children now, they're older, and they think it's so incredibly unreasonable to spend all of that time and effort around getting the tree when they can just open it from the box that it's in the basement. So to them, that's not a fair and reasonable expectation, not just because of the environmental piece, but the time and the energy that it takes. So how do you evaluate whether your expectations are fair and reasonable? One of the ways is to talk to the closest people who you're having those expectations of. Because often those expectations are of other people, right? So if you have those expectations, would you speak them? Would you articulate them? And then evaluate with that other person, is this a fair and reasonable expectation? Is it fair and reasonable for me to expect that on Christmas Day at dinner, you will sit at the table with us until the meal is complete and until everybody's done eating, and you're just going to stay at the table and you're not going to have your phones on? That's my expectation. Can you follow that expectation or not? Having these conversations before the fights, right? And having these conversations, being open to listen to other people's perspectives as well. So what I would encourage you to do, because when you say this holiday season, nothing went the way it was supposed to, how do I let my expectations, how do I let go when my expectations were pretty fair and reasonable? What I would say is start to see if you can look for things in this holiday that went right. Because it's pretty unlikely that nothing went right. Even if it was a miserable time, even if there was tragedy in the family, one small thing that might have gone right is you actually got together with people that you care about on a day at a time. Now, it might not have been the greatest get together, but you got together, and that's a win, right? So looking for the things, because when we say never or nothing or always, that tends to be kind of that black and white thinking. So to get through, the holidays are now over. There's nothing you can do to change it now. But as you prepare for next season, to think about in this season, what did go right? And the season's not over, right? You still have time to craft some interesting, engaging opportunities and moments for yourself and your loved ones. You still have time, but doing it in a way that's not like, if it doesn't happen like this, therefore it's a failure, because then you're stressful to be around. Like me with my first tree. It's like really stressful to be around me when I was decorating that tree. So those are my thoughts. I'm not sure if you might disagree with some of it, and that's okay. Kind of take whatever I've said and put it against your own value system and your own understanding of yourself. But be open to maybe seeing things a little bit of a different way, and considering that maybe expectations, when we have them of other people, it's a little bit harder to enforce them because it's not an expectation of myself. It's an expectation of things that I can't control, which are outside of myself. Those are my thoughts for today. Feel free to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time, next year. Bye.